Welcome back to Million Dollar Landscaper Podcast. Today, we are excited because we invited back Isaac Barlow of Busy Busy. Now, for those that don't know, Busy Busy is one of our sponsors of our podcast. So we can't thank them enough. But Isaac is just a wealth of knowledge, so we're excited to have him back. And today, he's going to share a little bit about time tracking, why it's so important, and what you can do with this data that you gather using something like Busy Busy, and just how easy it is to use this program to gather this information and use it for estimating and job costing and everything that goes on to running your business. I encourage you guys, do not want to miss this. And one little tidbit, you're going to want to stick around to the end because it's a pretty hilarious story of how Busy got its name. But before we do that, I want to remind you, if you're a landscaper and you're struggling trying to figure out what you need to charge for your work, you need to check out the Million Dollar Academy. Inside the Million Dollar Academy, we're going to walk you through step by step on creating a pricing structure for your business based on your business, on your numbers, what you pay your team, what you pay for your equipment, what you pay for your insurance, all that goes into running your business. We help you figure it out. So definitely go check out the Million Dollar Academy. But before that, here's a quick word from our sponsors.
The only app every landscaper needs. Company Cam makes it dead simple to communicate, document, and problem solve with guys in the field, no matter where you are. Company Cam brings documentation, communication, and liability protection together in one simple, easy-to-use app for you and your entire team. Take unlimited photos and videos, share custom reports, create flawless before and afters, and even communicate and share progress with homeowners with galleries and project timelines, all from your smartphone. Company Cam, the only app every landscaper needs. Check it out at companycam.com/million or in your app store.
If you run a landscape or lawn care business, you know the work never ends. There's customer service, hiring staff, mountains of paperwork. The to-do list just goes on and on. Plus, you still need to do the actual work that pays your bills. Running your entire business with pen and paper alone is just hard and really plain messy. You know you need a better system to stay on top of everything so nothing falls through the cracks. Jobber is a mobile and online app that helps keep your business organized and looking more professional than ever. With Jobber, you can quote jobs, schedule your crews, send out invoices, accept payments online, all in one place. You won't know how you ran your business without it. Jobber offers free one-on-one coaching to help get you started, and there's no software experience needed. Get paid on time, go paperless, and impress your customers. Try it for free today at getjobber.com/MDL. This podcast is brought to you by Busy Busy. Busy Busy is so simple to use, and it's the most reliable GPS time tracking app on the market. And the best part is, it was built for landscapers. Busy Busy's founder created Busy Busy because he owns multiple construction companies and needed to understand better which projects were making him money and which projects were killing him. Payroll is the highest variable cost in the project, so you better be tracking it. Busy Busy does this better than anyone else. So download Busy Busy today, and don't forget to mention the Million Dollar Landscaper Podcast to get 3 free months.
We want to take a quick second to tell you about our friends over at Cycle CPA. I can't even express to you how important it is to have a good accountant on your side. You know you want accurate bookkeeping and financial statements every month. Instead, you're often left with limited time to focus on the accounting side of your business and no reports to show for it. At Cycle CPA, the landscaping accountants, they not only handle the bookkeeping, but also provide landscape industry benchmarking, job costing, financials by service line, advisory meetings, and much more. Cycle CPA has a team of landscaping accountants available to provide anything from bookkeeping to CFO services. Visit cyclecpa.com, and for $100 off, mention the Million Dollar Landscaper Podcast. If you want to get the leads you want and turn your current clients into raving fans, then you need to try SendJim. They've created an exclusive offer just for our listeners. If you sign up today, you can get your first month for just $2. So if you haven't already, go to sendjim.io/MDL, where you can get even more exclusive deals just for Million Dollar Landscaper Podcast listeners. That's sendjim.io/MDL and take advantage of these awesome deals today.
Welcome back to Million Dollar Landscaper Podcast. Today, I'm excited to bring back Isaac Barlow of Busy Busy. Busy Busy is an awesome app, and you guys have probably heard us. You've probably seen us on the Facebook Lives and doing all kinds of talks with his buddy Ryan Reber. And it's just an amazing app. So welcome, Isaac. Thanks for being on the show again.
Thank you. I appreciate being here.
So, Isaac, you mind just sharing? Well, I guess a quick recap. If you haven't listened to our past podcast episodes with Isaac, you got to go back listen. There's some amazing episodes. But for those that did not listen to those, Isaac, you mind sharing a little bit about yourself and what Busy Busy is?
Yeah, absolutely. My background is in the excavation, construction, landscaping industry. you know, um, got in landscapes first while I was out of while I was going through high school, and then just a little bit after high school, continued landscaping and then transitioned into the excavation industry. And that's kind of family industry where my brothers were working and my dad. My dad did excavation his whole life. My brothers were starting a business, so I ended up joining them in the construction industry. And so I literally just, started off in the trenches like any good brothers. They made me do the worst work first,
Of course.
start off in the trenches, repairing sewer lines. I mean, I've even fixed live sewer lines, and it's not pretty, which,
I would
we won't
imagine.
get into that. It's a crappy topic.
No pun intended.
Right. No pun intended. Anyway, so I grew up in the construction industry, and end up managing all positions really from laborer, pipe layer, and um, running machines to running the projects, and ended up, you know, becoming kind of a project manager, estimator, owner of the business, that kind of stuff. Just kind of transitioned through all the different roles, and so it gave me a really broad perspective of the industry. And my nature's a little bit analytical, a lot analytical, and a little bit nerdy, and so I was always trying to break down the jobs and get the information that I needed out of them, so I knew how to win. Because to me, I guess that's always the way I've been. Is I want to understand the rules of the game and I want to win. So and then as that kind of evolved, I got to the point that we were running a much larger business, and I think we were at 45 people, and it became quite a burden to get that information out of the field, just to understand whether you're winning or losing. And today, I think that's one of the big issues. Is like we all get really busy, and that's why we call our name Busy Busy. But we all get busy and overwhelmed with everything. But just knowing whether you're winning or losing, and which projects you're winning and losing on, is what really inspired me to start Busy Busy. I was frustrated trying to get the information out of the field. As everyone knows, who tracks their time on paper time cards, which, by the way, is still the majority of the nation. The majority of us still use paper time cards to track our time. It can be hard to get. You can end up, oftentimes guys will fill them out right at the end of the pay period, and then they really are trying to remember what they did. I mean, I can't hardly remember what I did last week, let alone rely on the guys to. And so really, when you're using paper, you get a lot of that inaccurate data. And so when we were trying to get out of the field, I had a secretary that was working for me, and she honestly was spending 3/4 of her time, literally 3/4 of her payroll was spent trying to collect the time cards from the field, and then trying to decipher them, trying to interpret the illegible handwriting, and then calling the guys, which that would even distract them again on their job site. She'd call and be like, "Hey, what were you working on? What is this that you were doing?" Because I was trying to do our best form of job costing and putting all the information together so that we could really have an understanding of, like I said, whether we're winning or losing project by project, and contract by contract. And so that's kind of what evolved into Busy Busy. I end up, getting to the point that I said, you know what, there's got to be a better way. We've got to do something about this. This was back in 2007. And so in 2009, ended up taking the plunge and decided to start, I guess, wireframing or imagining the business. By 2011, we were programming. And, not me, but I hired the right people.
Yep.
And that evolved to what Busy Busy is today. And we focused on the time tracking because in your business, the biggest variable, I know the majority of your um, listeners are landscapers, and landscaping is, this is 100% true, but your biggest variable is your labor. We can identify our materials. We have a pretty solid understanding of what our materials cost, but the time it takes to install something or to complete a task, that's where we have a big variable. And so that's really what Busy Busy is focused on, is getting your data from the field to the office so that you can cost and understand your jobs. And of course, while we're doing that, we're achieving a whole bunch of other tasks, like just payroll processing in general. Like we're getting the information out so people can process their payroll. In fact, we now have, for a select group of beta users, we now have a payroll app embedded in our product that they can start processing their payroll with. but processing payroll, getting your safety sign-offs, getting the notes and the photos from the field, and just getting all your field data collection. Busy does all of that for you now. And to give my, I'll give my pitch on our cost. Since when I started, I had 45 people, and I was spending 3/4 of my secretary's time getting the time cards. Busy on the free side, we're just totally free. You can literally use all of our system, and we designed it to replace paper. So you can use, we're free for an entire team. It works great. It's amazing. You can collect your data and process your payroll. It's free. And on the paid side, which gives you more of your project management analytics and your job cost analytics, it's $10 a month per employee. So, my comparison going back to that day, I would have spent $450 for Busy, which would have done a superior job, compared to my secretary at the time was earning about $3,000, and 2/3 of her time was doing that, so it was costing me about $2,000.
Oh yeah, this is the exact same issue we had in our business. Was my mom, who's our secretary, would spend all the time doing the exact same thing your secretary would do, and I can totally see it. And it's really a no brainer for those that go sign up for busy. Like you said, you have the free version or even the pro version. The premium
Yeah.
version is an amazing deal. So I encourage you guys, if you haven't checked it out, go check it out. If you use the code Millionaire Landscaper, you actually get a 3 months for free inside the busy app. So go check it out. It's a win-win for you. So
So,
it's
so
kind of a
they can,
no-brainer.
so they get a try out the pro side for free for 3 months by using your app.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
not restating that as a gimmick. I really, my team makes these arrangements, and so I'm I'm just confirming that. That's great. That's awesome, because it lets you try it out and just make sure you're happy with it. And then if you want to use the free version, you can do that. But
Mhm.
in my experience, the pro version pays for itself about 30 times over in general for our customers. So it ends
Sure.
up returning them, literally returns them about 30 times what it costs.
Yeah. So I guess kind of talking a little bit more about the time tracking. Obviously, tracking, when the guys start and stop for the day is very important. But what are the other benefits of time tracking, as far as job costing, everything else? What else are you finding that it helps landscapers with?
Um, yeah, time tracking has a ton of benefit. I mean, you've got the old adage, what you measure, you manage, or what you don't measure, you don't manage.
Mhm.
And so time tracking, even if let's say you were collecting papers and you're perfect with it, right? The other thing that's really difficult to get from paper is just trending analytics. And so time tracking, when you're tracking your time, yeah, you're getting more accurate time, and so people are actually doing the work that they're doing the work that you're paying for them to do. But when you're doing it on a real-time basis, then they don't have to spend all that time trying to remember what they're doing, and the chances of being accurate are so much higher. Like, at the end of the day, busy is easy. I can get on my application. I've clocked in the morning, I clock out at night. I can allocate my time, say where I've been, what I've done while I'm remembering it, or write in real time. The supervisors can review it. They can make corrections, edits, changes. Basically, time tracking lets you have just business analytics, and I guess comparison I'd give you is a dashboard. Like, most of us wouldn't drive our car down the road without a dashboard. You know,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
how fast are we going? Is the tachometer revved out? Whatever the case is. More extreme, most of us wouldn't fly in a plane if the pilot didn't have a dashboard of some sort, because they didn't want to crash and burn. But a lot of us are really comfortable operating our businesses without a dashboard, without
Yeah.
metrics of what's happening in my business. And so time tracking, it really gives you that data of what's happening. Where are where are your crews? What are they doing? What did they do yesterday? How much time did they spend on it? And then with like the pro version of Busy, you also have all the historical data. Like I say, if you're collecting time cards and you're filing them in your filing cabinet, you don't get any trending data. But if you're collecting all your time on busy, and let's say you do a landscaping job, you know, this month, and then 3 months from now you bid a job that's similar. Well, you can just click back and look at that old job and say, how long did that take for everything to happen? What did happen on that job? What was the progress? And basically, it can inform you on your future bidding process and your analytics. And so it just gives you a lot of intelligence of what's going on in your business.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing we see a lot is, after talking to Academy members and Facebook users, they're not really tracking time. They're not really even estimating things in the amount of hours it takes to do stuff, man hours, production hours, whatever you want to call it. They're just kind of going out and that job's going to be $5,000. Well, you can't tell your crews that the job needs to get done at $5,000. They have no idea what that means. They don't understand your costs. They don't understand
No,
what it takes to run their business. So having the ability to tell your team you have 40 man hours or whatever it is to complete the task, they can grasp that. Then they can figure out, oh, I only have 5 hours left. Or they can come to you and say, hey, Isaac, we're getting close to our time here. We got to change something, or there should have been a change order put in place, all kinds of things. So it's so important to track your numbers.
that's right. That's right. And it can help you on so many levels. Like, say your customers are doing time and materials, which happens all the time. Being able to track your time accurately for time materials is super important. I don't, I'll just give my experience. Back when we first started Busy Busy, I was still doing excavation. I'm still managing the business, and we do big hourly tickets. So as much as 150,000 in a month. Okay, so hourly time material. And our customer that we were working for, he's always beating us up over everything. Like, oh, this isn't right. Like your guys filled out their time 2 weeks later. This can't be right. And so he'd argue it until we'd give him like a 15% discount on the hourly. I mean, and it was hard for us to defend because we just didn't have any information. So it was hard to argue. Like, yeah, that you're right. Our guys do kind of guess, and so basically, we're taking their guesswork and we're billing you high hourly rates for it. So anyway, I did a $150,000 job after we'd started using Busy Busy. And when I gave him the invoice, I attached to it, Busy Busy gives you a report. You can just print out a report that shows all the hourly that went into that job or all the time. And so he looked at my invoice and he turned the page and he looked at the report and it shows the clock in times of every single person that I billed him for. And he says, okay. And he didn't fight. And that's, I was expecting to lose $22,500 just by negotiation. And he didn't argue it. And so it gives you that confidence where you can go in and say, no, this is what happened. Here's your bill. The other things it does is even lien rights. You have a validated timestamp. We were here on this job at this time. This guy was here at this time.
Yeah.
It gives a ton of benefits.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't think about that as far as protecting yourself and your business. I can see like people that are doing snow plowing, snow removal. I've personally done this. I've gone out, snow plowed at 3 o'clock in the morning. You finish it up, it's still snowing, and then 7 o'clock rolls around. The customer comes in, they're like, "Oh, you never were here. You didn't plow
Yeah,
this." Yeah, I was. Well, if you had something like this, you could have tracked and said, "No, I was here between this time and this time." So definitely, protections there that's amazing portion.
yeah, and if it helps, depending on your type of business, Busy has a lot of features. I mean, it has a lot. We've designed it to where you can use it at the simple level. Like you can just go and replace your paper, track your time, no problem. But we've also designed it, just your snow plowing example, you can be tracking your time, your guys can be putting in notes and they can be putting in photos, and Busy will automatically generate a daily report of what happened. So like you could have gone and done that snowplow job and you could literally within seconds generate a PDF report of what happened that whole time and you email it to your customer. Like
Mhm.
just simple.
That's awesome. So I know you mentioned a little bit about the project management side of things. You mind elaborating a little bit more on that, like what Busy Busy has and what it can do compared to like just the free version?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the project management side is it's a lot of, what you put in, you get out. And so the way to get the best bang out of Busy Busy is for the estimator, owner estimator, whoever's bidding the jobs, you can go in and set your project up. So you set up like your project and say, okay, you know, here's XYZ project, here's contract, here's what we planned in the contract. Like you can set your labor hours and set your budget that you'd plan for time and your hours and cost. You can set in there, which I normally do, extras and hourly. So if the guys are working on something else, they can clock into something else. And then what happens is it starts tracking all your data against that. So basically, if you take the small amount of time to set up the project, it'll track all your data against that. So you can see day by day how you're tracking towards your plan. In addition, when you sort those subcategories of your project, your guys, as they clock in and out, they can select whether they're working on contract versus hourly, or extras, which by the way can save a ton of money just by picking up those billables. Um, and they can add photos and notes and all kinds of things to that. And so it allows you to have that. It's a light version of project management. Honestly, it's the version that most of us will use because you know, it's a light, simple version of project
Mhm.
management.
Yeah, I would say most people would probably wouldn't take advantage of all the software, like that other software that's out there with all the features they have. Like it's too complicated, and the crews aren't going to do it.
Yeah, yeah. We because we came from the industry, we really focused on simple. Like I joked with my team 2 days ago. I said they were asking how we come up with the name Busy Busy, um, and that's funny. That's a funny backstory. But anyway, I told them, I said we thought about it. It could have been, we maybe should have called it Easy Easy, because that literally growing up in the construction industry as we're developing software, like, no, this has to be easy, like no matter what. And it's not because we're not smart. Yeah, we can figure things out, but if you've ever worked a really hard long day, you just think of how much you want to engage in difficult software at the end of the day.
Well, and not to knock anybody, but a lot, at least in the landscaping field, especially again, people that are, entry level and just
Hmm.
starting to use this app, they're not going, they may not be knowledgeable even how to use it on their smartphone. So just getting some people that at the simplest form is probably the easiest thing to have, having software like that. So I can definitely see why you'd want it that way.
Yeah, yeah, it's super easy.
So I guess along those lines, as far as, getting people to start using this type of app, do you have any suggestions on how to get people? Cause I've heard, our crews won't do that. Even with like the
Oh
more
yeah,
expensive software, I can't get my crews to do it. Any suggestions on that?
yeah. A lot of times people will use apps like ours to kind of beat people over the head with. It's like, hey, we're going to hold you accountable. You've been stealing hours from us, all that kind of stuff. um,
Yeah.
I would highly recommend you don't approach it that way because, personally, I think most people believe they're honest. The reality is you are losing a lot of time if you're using paper. Like the American Payroll Association says, you're probably losing 45 minutes a day. And here's how it works. So a guy comes to the job site, you tell him start at 7, he starts around 7. And he doesn't feel dishonest. It's just kind of around 7. And then he's supposed to take half-hour lunch. He takes around a half hour. And then he's supposed to leave at 4 o'clock and he leaves around 4 o'clock, right? And that doesn't feel dishonest most of the time. And some people are dishonest, but I would say most of them aren't. And so when you give them a system where they themselves can start seeing, oh my gosh, I clocked in at 7:15, like that reduces 15 minutes of my day. I got paid 15 minutes less. It starts making them think about it, and I think they automatically start correcting themselves. Because they can see the accountability, they can see. And so really I think what you do is you promote that you're introducing a system because you're trying to be more successful as a company. If you're more successful as a company and if you have analytics, you can pay better, you can do better perks, you can do better Christmas parties, and this is all true. You'll make a lot more money. And the money that you save from your employees, I have a testimonial from one of our customers who says, he said when he started using Busy Busy, he was paying us 140 bucks a month because he had 14 employees. And he says, I started making about 5,000 a month extra after I started using it. And I said, well, hell, that's awesome. You got to explain that one to me. And he said it was in 3 ways. And this might be a long way to get to your point, but I just want to show you kind of the real life demonstration of it. So he says, first off, he says, my guys always got 40 hours a week, and I started using Busy Busy, and they started getting 36 and 37 and 35 hours, and they didn't like it. They were like, wait, why are we? And so he says, so then they started clocking in from their homes, and he says, and I told them, oh, you can't clock in from your home, like you got to actually be on the job. So he
Yeah.
worked with them and worked them through it. And he says, and finally they started working 40-hour weeks. He says, so I started getting the extra 5 hours of production time, the extra so many hours. He says the second thing is they started tagging, kind of like I was talking in the set. They started tagging the extra things they're doing. He says, and I didn't realize how many little billables I was missing, like little extras that they're doing for the customer that wasn't part of the contract. And then the third way was just the data. He says I started being able to see which jobs I was winning on and which jobs I was losing on. And so I either stopped doing that kind of work or adjusted my estimates, and this is just very simple, basic version. Okay, so that's a version that explains how it all can work. But when you're selling it to the employees, your focus, nobody wants to be big, feel like they're big brother. Okay, but most people respect someone that has systems and processes. And so you have to say, we're introducing a stronger system and process so that we can be more successful as a company, so we can take care of you better, so we can win more jobs, we can pay you more money, all that kind of stuff. We're trying to be a stronger company. Hands down, I think that's the better way. So you basically sell it to the employees and you let them know what's good for them about it. And by the way, there are a lot of good things for them. Like, for example, did you know, or maybe you do, or maybe you don't know, but we get a ton of business from one employee leaving a company and going to another company and telling their company about us, and then we get that company signed up. Because in the beginning, the employees think, oh, this is going to be burdensome on me. And then once they get into it, they're like, oh my gosh, I can see my time. So I know what I'm going to get paid. I can see my history. Like we let them see their history, whole years back. Like they can see all the projects they've worked on. They can see the machines they've operated. They can see all this kind of stuff. And it ends up being kind of cool because it
Mhm.
lets them see what they're doing.
Yeah, no, that's smart. And I always tell people, like in our academy, when they're introducing any kind of system similar to what you said here, is you got to find the win in it for them. Whatever is going
Yeah.
to get them excited about it and want them to use it. Do you have any suggestions for people that have perhaps, some older employees that
Yeah.
not so tech savvy, that not want to, I don't need to do that stuff?
Yes, absolutely. There's two suggestions. So we've run into that all the time.
Mhm.
Um, So it's always going to happen. So the first suggestion is it's better if you pair them up with a younger employee to
Okay.
help guide them into it. So you take your people and it's just the ones who can adopt it easily. So when you start off, let's say you have 10 employees and you've got, a few people that are younger and they're just more used to doing apps. Like your younger people will actually be really surprised you don't have an app for that. Like when you tell them to track time and write it on a piece of paper, they'll be like, really? You don't have an app for this? And so when you start having them use the app, then you ask them to teach the older employee how to use the app, assuming they have a smartphone. Now, busy, we understand this, and so we've also made it to where if you just literally cannot teach that old dog new tricks, but they're valuable to you, we've got it set up where you can have someone basically record their time for them. Like the person can come to them at the end of the day. Like they don't, you can set them up with the authority to just almost like a buddy puncher. It's not that they're buddy punching, faults, but I'm saying they can come at the end of the day and they're like, hey, I had, can you log me this many hours to this project? And the younger person can say, yeah, great, I've got it. So I'd say the first attempt is you try to use a younger team member to teach them, and then the second version is you let someone else do it for them that they come and bring it to. Either way, if you get them in the habit of reporting in daily, you're going to get better data.
Yeah, no, that's a smart idea. I like that. I like the ability to have somebody else do it for them, because I've personally had some older people that they literally have a flip phone that doesn't even have the
Yeah.
access to to doing it. So I think that's smart that you guys have that. Any other tips that you have for to getting somebody to even start looking at something like this, time tracking and using it? If there's a landscaper out there that's not even using it, it's still using paper.
Yes. And let me just make sure I got your question right. So you're saying just a company not using it, not necessarily an individual.
Correct. Yeah. Just any company, if they're looking at doing something such as busy and they've never done this before, what are some things they should consider?
The main thing they've got to consider is making their life easier. And I say that with, you know, the warmest empathy that I could possibly have is you will make your own life easier. Like if everything in, you're running a business and you're a business owner and your focus needs to be on producing more revenue. And there are all kinds of little systems within your business that you can automate. And if you automate them, payroll's one of them, time tracking is one of them, job costing, these things. If you automate them, then it allows you to put your focus more on how you can maximize the revenue production within your business, because that's what you're good at. I mean, the assumption is you went into business for yourself because you were good at what you do. And so your mind shouldn't be focused on, oh, I've got to collect all this time from everybody. I've got to remember, even if you're a one-man band, track your own time, because have you ever tried to remember what you did at the end of the week? you know and then go weeks and weeks and weeks. Like, if I'm doing my own business, I will track my time at busy because I have this. I have a he's literally a landscaper, so it's a landscape company, and I mentor him. He's just a one-man show, and I tell him, you track your own business, you track what you do every day, because people say, oh, I don't need to track my own time, it's just me. I'm saying, well, no, you do, because you know what, every time he goes into negotiations on his contracts, like he does maintenance contracts, and he's trying to get more money, they're like, oh no, we shouldn't pay you more money. And when he started tracking his data and he starts getting this analytics, he's like, look, I spend this much time on your project, this is what your project requires, I spend this much time on a regular basis. But if you're a maintenance landscaper, what are you doing? I mean, you know better than I am, but 16, 20 projects a day,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
you're not going to remember all that. And especially at the end of the month, you're probably doing a monthly contract with the person. How much do you bill? And so if you track your own time, you're starting to get that data coming back into you. And you might have different segments of their project. Like in this case, the guy has, it's a big ball field that he maintains, like a sports field. And then he maintains all their shrubs and stuff. And so he divides the time between the two because they're very different applications. One he's using the big mower for, one he's just straight labor. And so as he started tracking it, he was able to go back into the owner of the sports field and the facility and say, look, I've got to raise price on you for this and this and this reason. And the owner, they respect it more, because when you come in and you don't have any data and you're like, hey, I just need to raise your prices. Well, why? Well, because I want to make more money. It just doesn't go well. But if you go in with data and you're like, hey, look, I bid your job at this price and it's just not working for me, because I'm doing it now and I track my time and it takes me this much time to do your job. And so either I've got to stop doing your job or I've got to raise it 25% so that I can actually do the work you need, or I've got to do not as good of a job as I need to do. But all of that's data. And, I challenge anybody to remember what the hell you did for the last month.
I get it. I've personally been there. You can't remember everything.
Yeah,
Like going back to even the snow plowing, like you're out usually in the middle of the night trying to do that, and your brain's like foggy as it is trying to do what you got to do, and then trying to go back, and it's a headache. It's a
that's right.
nightmare.
So you easily just go out there, you clock in, and it's literally seconds. It's like I'm starting and I'm working on this project and I'm doing snow plowing. And then you end it at the end of the day, or when you're done. I mean, and then you just forget about it until you have to bill for it or whatever.
One thing I wanted to share is Busy Busy has an awesome onboarding section too that they can help you get set up. So if you're not even sure how to get started with this, go check out Busy Busy. You mind sharing a little bit about that too, like the onboarding process you guys have?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we've learned, so as we've gone through time and development of the busy product, we've learned a lot. And what we've learned is once people actually get used to the product, start using it, they usually stay for almost life. I mean, we retain the majority of our customers that they like it. And so about 5 years ago, we decided that helping our customers get engaged was everything. We don't care if you're only paying us $10 a month. We're going to help. We're going to help you get engaged, because then you're actually using our product. You're an advocate. You like it, so you tell other people about it. And so what we did is we set up a really great onboarding team. And if you sign up for busy, they'll help you get started. They'll help you set up your projects, your company, get used to it. They'll literally be your wingman until you're comfortable and help you through it. So they do
Yeah.
great.
No, that's amazing. Well, Isaac, I appreciate you talking about all the benefits and everything with Busy Busy. Is there anything else you wanted to share about time tracking or what Busy Busy has that we haven't talked about?
Um, no, I think main thing is I would just emphasize again, culture is so huge that when you're introducing these kind of systems to your company, make sure you introduce them in a positive way. Show everybody wants to be part of a winning team. Set it up that way. If you set it up that, hey, you guys all been stealing from me, and so I'm gonna, it's going to fail. you
Yep.
know, just set it up with a positive aspect.
No, that's great advice. Great advice. So, guys, if those out there listening, go check out Busy Busy. They have a free version to get you started and get you introduced to it. It's an amazing piece of software. There's so many different features on there that can definitely help your landscape business, like you said, job costing and just time tracking alone, and be able to bill the customers what you need to bill. So I encourage you to go check it out. Use the promo code $1 Million Landscaper, or $1 Million Landscaper Podcast. You get 3 months for free. Like that's an amazing deal. It's most of people's summers here, so why wouldn't you try it? You have nothing to lose. So, Isaac, you have a time for a few more questions or fun
Oh
questions?
yeah, yep,
All
for sure.
right. All right. Would you rather be the best player on a horrible team or the worst player on a great team?
The worst player on a great team.
Yep.
Then I
Okay.
can learn. Then I can learn
Okay.
the most.
There you go. I like that. Um, who would you like to sit next to on a 10-hour flight and why?
Oh, that's a
Some of these could be a little hard.
yeah, that's a good question. I'm assuming like celebrity,
Yeah.
you
Anybody you would like. Yeah. Dead or alive. We'll go there.
dead or alive. Probably Jordan Peterson.
Okay.
And mainly because I'm fascinated with human nature. I don't know if you know who Jordan Peterson is,
No,
but
I'm
he
sorry.
wrote like 12 Rules for Life. He's deep into kind of the anthropology and the way people think and all that. He's a Canadian psych. Uh, Crap, I forgot his actual title, but anyway, um, someone like that. I
Okay.
really love talking about humanity and just how people are and the different quirks of humanity. So
Okay.
that's probably it. Or any anthropologist that's
Yeah.
well versed.
Okay. Very cool.
I resisted saying beautiful actress. I thought about that.
Your significant other might not like
Yeah.
that. All right. Um, if you could be guaranteed one thing in life besides money, what would it be?
Um, Time.
Time. Why is that?
Um, just just predictability, I guess, of time. Like how much time do we have here, so that we can kind of work out our salvation, work out how much we want to grow and learn.
Oh yeah.
If I was guaranteed time, I think that'd probably be the key thing.
Okay. Very cool. All right, Isaac. Well, I appreciate you being on the show again. Anything you want to add?
No, I think
Okay.
that's it. Well,
Okay.
actually, I got one thing for you.
Sure.
This is my fun response to your fun questions. Okay,
Okay.
so I told you earlier about busy, so I'm going to tell you where the name came from. You
Okay.
know, and first thing I'm going to tell you is busybusy.com used to be a porn site.
I did not know that.
We didn't know that either.
Most people wouldn't, I guess.
So what happened is we were going to name the company Busy Contractor, and I'm saying this because I led into it earlier. I said it's kind of funny story. We were going to name it Busy Contractor because that was the idea. It's like, oh, we need to make a system for someone that's busy. We're overwhelmed. We're busy, and this helps you automate things, make your life better. So by the time we got to the marketing people, they said, well, no, Busy Contractor's not as marketable. And so they suggested busy, and they said it's easier to remember. It's a double name, all that stuff. So I get online, I find out if I can buy the domain. The domain's for sale. I end up negotiating getting it for like $1,800, and we build it out and go on and on. And when we get to the point they're introducing product and we start selling product, we start getting blocked by people's firewalls, and I'm like, what's going on here? And so we dig into it and find out that before we owned the domain name busy, it was a porn site.
Wow. That's funny. So how'd you have to get around all that?
It's just time and reputation. It's
Okay.
just now of course we've got so much data out there on busy that we're what it is, right? But
Okay.
in the
Yeah.
very beginning, we ran into these firewall obstacles.
Wow. That's hilarious. Yeah, I guess you would never know if you're not into that kind of stuff, I suppose. So,
Yeah, I just assumed and apparently it wasn't a successful one because they
uh,
sold the name to us. So
true. True. That's interesting.
okay, so there's
Well,
something that most people don't know.
yeah, no, that's hilarious. All right, Isaac. Well, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you being on here. Guys, definitely go check out Busy Busy. Use the promo code $1 Million Landscaper Podcast. Get your 3 months for free. Get signed up today. Get going and start making more money. Thanks, Isaac. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it.